Looking at that legacy gas, that's 213 billion naira for legacy gas debts, Mr. Akanji. Do you feel that it was too early or too late to actually provide this facility?
Well, you could say that it's late. Because, you see, once you start to liberalize the market, you need to deal quickly with legacy issues. Those are attraction for investors. You do not wait for investors to start to almost carry placards and then the public making noises before you deal with things like that. Because, for example, we already know that gas is sacrosanct to power generation.
Just like Mr. Edet has very rightly pointed out.
So we should actually have dealt with that right on time as part of liberalization early enough. It's not when people start to carry placard and making noises that we start to call meetings to deal with it. But all the same, it's something right to have been given attention at this time. Therefore, the gas companies would be able to then know that from this point onwards, there is what you could call a clean slate. There is a proper negotiation of contract. At this point, when I should get paid from this point onward, then we can plan for consistent power distribution. From the point of generation, manage the transmission. Yes, we say that transmission is obsolete. However, it's carrying something. Whatever it's carrying, we can efficiently deliver. So if there is consistent delivery of power to homes and industries, whichever way it goes, I believe that once Nigerians can have access to a minimum of 15 hours of power supply, at that point we begin to talk about strong and massive economic development across sectors. And you know today we have over 17 million SMEs in Nigeria. And these SMEs largely rely on power. The guy that is barbing, vulcanizing, and from the micro level to the medium scale level, these enterprises essentially engage power. And once they all have access to reliable power, they do away with generator maintenance costs. They do away with having to buy petrol to manage their generator. They do away with downtime in their jobs when the generator refuses to function and the customer is standing to be serviced and they can't be serviced. All of this will be done away with. And therefore, you can have a mobile economy, an economy that is functionally moving and people are generating revenue. And per capita income of individuals will increase. Government can have access to better taxes. You can then even efficiently look at the informal sector, create a tax system that is beneficial to that will ensure that these people get engaged into the tax system in a way that is not painful to them, because now they can enjoy services and you can fix a lot of things from there. And that is when you can actually talk about providing infrastructure that people can then talk about quality of living, have better health sector, because you see the informal sector is larger than the formal sector by all means. Yep. So imagine that you have today in Nigeria more than 70% of the population, working population basically, in the informal sector, and a lot of them are out of the tax net. If each of these guys pay even a minimum of 2,000 naira monthly to government, you can begin to quantify the kind of support that will give in terms of infrastructure deployment and the quality of life we can live in terms of health, in terms of education and all of that. Today, we are all awash with private schools. All of these are concerns. So you see that power is at the base of development, basically. And that is what you've seen. This is not new to anybody, but that's what we've seen in all developed economies. Once power is sorted, a lot of things get to move.
So now, apart from that, what other aspects of financing should we begin to expect that the government will help to give these companies, to give them a kind of, to boost them to give them a leverage?
First and foremost, I think we need to realize that when we talk about infrastructure, particularly for a country like Nigeria, and then you talk about governance, the government has a responsibility to the people. And under the condition we're in, you need to give it the best shot. And the best shot to deal with this, for me, would be for the government to look at a way in which, number one, create stronger attraction through possibly providing a piece of its own balance sheet for us to access larger share of funding from the international capital markets, international investors, private equities. That's very critical at this time. So, and what I mean when I say this also, the private equities, for example, there are a few of them who would want to come into the sector, not just with money, they come with technical competences. Now, some of the buyers of these companies must also be willing to open up.
But then it's not as if they've never ever looked at that particular option.
Well, it depends. You can say they've looked at it, but how have they accepted it? So it's a function of negotiation. People must be like banks. When we go to seek for capital, some investors will say, yes, I'm going to give you money, but I need to bring some technical competencies, or maybe on bank assurance, on SME, on this, on. So some of these discussions will happen. That's even on the low side. But on the top line is that the fact that you want to fulfill your political responsibility, that promises you've made to the people. So you need to give it a lot of consideration, where you create that attraction through some form of instrument that can attract investors, because everything about investment is, how do I get my money back? That's basically the concern. Once I'm sure that I have optimal return, my principal is assured. Yes, we can say it's a private decision to invest. And so if you make a loss or you make a profit, it's really your problem. But the truth is, under the condition where we are in, you need to look beyond that level of consideration to provide support for the sector and place the sector at a point where it has leverageable capacity.
Mr. Edet, how can we get the sector to a leverageable capacity?
I'll focus on infrastructure. Again, I'll start with gas. Recent development, encouraging, but we need to take a step further. I will expect government to have a kind of a carrot and stick arrangement. And what do I mean by that? We have the domestic gas obligation. We have the gas flare penalty. Okay, how effective are they? That's on the stick aspect. Then on the carrot aspect, our fiscal incentive for gas development have to be revisited. I tell you why. If I'm given an option to develop oil and gas assets, naturally people will tend to develop oil. You know why? Molecule for molecule. Cost, if I sell my oil for $18 per barrel, that's equivalent to $3 per barrel for gas. So as an investor, why would I start going for gas when I can make more money from oil? That's one. Okay. The second aspect is the recent upgrading of the ELF. Fine, great, but they need to do more. We need to hook up East and West network. We need to upgrade the East network. Okay, then we also need to start looking at dedicated island concept. We need to take the embedded and captive power generation serious. The benefit of this is this: you free the transmission system for other end users by this approach, so that it also gives you time to develop your transmission system.